Um, and then I'm speaking for just in order to be heard. Then I think I'm more like a Pharisee than a Sadducee, but that's a long debate in itself. The debate tends to circle the middle ground. I like to see transparency, but there's a problem that most people are employed to advance the particular goals of others and sometimes be their mouthpiece. So it's very difficult to say what you want online, for example, and be found by others without putting at risk your relationship in the workplace and possibly creating a hostile workplace. There's also the fact that if you put something up, if you behave like a provocateur, and that's probably a word I should have used on here, is provocateur, without an appearance, only to provoke people and don't get paid for it, then you might be considered morally responsible for the conduct that you help inspire. Of course, that gets into the fake news idea. It gets into relative maturity of people, and speaking, the fact that people are easily influenced. Not everyone is willing to understand, because of tribalism, understand the views of other people. So this kind of speech can be very, very provocative indeed. So some people think that speech should pay its own way, and one way is can you actually sell the books that you authored. And here they are. The first one from 1997, the second one which came out after 9/11, and the third one from 2014, and then this other little one I wrote, which was actually somewhat popular, about our fundamental rights, that I wrote at the end of 1998. But anyway, I've experienced a lot of pressure to become a lot more commercial and become a lot more willing to join other people's causes, pitch hit for other people. There's a whole idea of differentiating service from activism and from resistance, especially now with Donald Trump in the White House. While speech may be a fundamental right, the right to distribute it without its paying its own way, it's not totally clear to me that that's constitutionally protected. So that's an area I've written a lot about. The whole idea that our ability to say what we want on the internet is protected by legislation that helps defer downstream liability of service providers, like Section 230 and for defamation, and the Digital Millennium Copyright Safe Harbor. The idea that there are frivolous lawsuits and so forth that people could have to pay, the whole idea of slap lawsuits, for example. The pressure, to maybe say less and act more. I very much feel that kind of pressure. Also, I didn't put that on here, but network neutrality is something that can affect the debate, the ability for people to speak what they want. If people ever had to pay to be hooked up, that's another possibility. But anyway, this has become my identity in the second part of my life. This has become my identity to speak this way. So, and to be the person that always that provides a repository for all sides of the issue and for the truth, and particularly for critical thinking, for connecting the dots. So those are the things that have mattered in my second career, but it hasn't paid its own way, so that's something of great concern to me.